On these machines, I think it's important to lubricate the gear between the hand well and the gear for the motor. So we have a nylon one for the hand well, metal for the motor. Why? Because that may impact the lower speed that you can get on the needle. So if you want the needle to move very, very slowly, I think grease is important here. And you may want to try a grease that's really slippery. Now, that's difficult to say where to find that grease. I suggest maybe gear grease, but get the grease that doesn't smell. That's really important. Anyhow, so I already put silicone grease in there. I'm not sure it's really, perhaps you see the white on the gear here, the red gear. I'm not sure if it works that great, but let's just give it a try first. I think it's better than without grease, that's for sure. So I just have thread. I'm on the longest, it's straight stitch at this point, the longest one. Let's just, I'm using the button pedal, so it's the original pedal. I'm using it. I'm going to try to move it as slow as I can. Notice the motor is buzzing, it doesn't like. Perhaps it is jamming. I think it did jam a bit. Okay, let's start again. So this would be about the slowest I can get it to move without jamming or anything. Okay, let's try to put some grease on the gear. So I do have, this is actually a grease that I took from my stand mixer, food processor, food mixer. So I'm going to put just a bit of grease here on the nylon gear, and I need to rotate it. Just try to kind of make a full turn. So I'm going to put a bit of grease at some points. I think actually the contact, let me just look past the camera. The contact, it's, you notice this side here, it looks more clean. This one still had that white silicone grease. So I'm going to put it more towards the right side, a little bit to the right of the center line. And it's really just a bit of grease, because too much is going to spray around. Now, obviously you may skip into the video. There is no need, I think, to put it really all around. And about this red gear, if you want, it's, I think the material, it's nylon, and maybe your question would be how strong it is, this well. I've never seen, and I've read other comments, I never seen a failed one. I mean a stripped one or degraded one because of age. So it seems the material that Singer did use on this gear, notice that this is a model from, I think the first was introduced in the perhaps somewhere in the 60s, mid 60s. So back then they took care of making this gear a really, really strong material. So there should be no worries about how long it's going to last. And also no worries, at this point, I don't know. Actually, I cannot just guarantee you that no grease will harm it. So obviously there are many types of greases, but it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. Is there a grease that can damage the well? Who can tell, actually? But I think the material is really, really strong. So just giving my opinion, but it's an opinion. It's just a guess. It's not a fact. So there's no scientific fact. Okay, I think I got all around it more or less. Let's put a bit more. And yes, I was saying, because we know that Singer in the late 70s started to put plastic gears around the lower mechanism, the lower components of their sewing machines, their cheaper sewing machines. And those plastic gears, okay, I'm done with this. Those plastic gears are very, very infamous for degrading over time and really just disintegrating, literally. Okay, I'm just giving it a spin like this by hand. I'm spinning it by hand to spread the grease. And again, the machine it's threaded. Even if I did remove the cover, my thread goes sits on the table actually. So it's threaded, you notice, and it's sewing basically. Okay, let's just try again the same test. Perhaps it's going to change if I would use the machine more for maybe several minutes. That grease will spread better on the gear. But let's just give it a try for now. Again, let me try to get my. So this, I think this is the slowest. This is about the limit. I think yeah, it's really at the limit. I'm not sure if it's faster or slower than before. I think it's reasonably slow. Now keep in mind, okay, so my test is over. Keep in mind something. This kind of gear engagement, you notice it's kind of the friction is from the side like this. And by the way, it's not really good for the motor to try to spin it this slow. The motor starts smelling at that point because it's forcing. So it's ideally you shouldn't be doing this for too long. Just keep in mind you may heat up the motor and maybe even just wear it. So this kind of gear engagement, notice there is kind of this gear rotates like this gear advances like this. Basically, this is a side friction movement. And this is the total opposite as the normal metal gears, which have a contact friction movement. So basically, if you can imagine the metal gears, the regular standard metal gears that you have, for example, here, they really kind of push against each other. So the friction between the two gears is very low. The friction point, even the friction surface, is very small. There is really low friction in there involved. However, on this kind of engagement, even more so, this one being nylon, so it's not a metal surface, I think the friction between the two is far higher than on regular metal gears. So all this to say that actually, especially at slow speeds, there is a lot of power that is being lost in there. Maybe it doesn't look like, but that's what's happening. That's why it's so difficult to obtain very slow movements from the needle. So again, this is one of the reasons why you want to lubricate this thing and just keep, well, if you lubricate it, it's going to last for 10 years, 20 years, the lubrication itself. So it's not something that you need to do every year. Now, two last things, just because I like to add extra tips in my videos. There is a video, I'm not showing you this, but there is a video where it shows how you remove the screw on this, the center knob here, and you remove just be careful with the plates. The plates come, just go in a certain position. This screw actually is sort of a locking screw, which is when you unlock it, basically this screw here serves as to lock this movement because there are kind of metal tabs. It's not difficult, but you need maybe to take a picture before removing I think there is one or two metal rings inside the position of them. Take pictures, and actually if you remove these, you can then remove the big handwheel, and it comes off with the nylon gear itself. So all it's removed from there. You can take a look and see how it goes. The other thing here is that I did disassembly my motor. I don't really recommend you try disassembly it, but you should try to get it lubricated. So the motor has two bushings, one top, one bottom. Actually, the top bushing, one that's almost apparent here, is a small bearing. And my suggestion is not try to put oil on that bearing from this position, because it's going to leak inside the motor and wet the motor and even the brushes. But I think it's a good idea. I do have a video which, yes, I already did upload it. You can look at the brushes, you can look at the brushes, the copper surface that makes contact with the brushes, we call that commutator. See if it's smooth. You want to perhaps use a very fine grit sandpaper, maybe 800 grit or more, 1000 grit if possible, to just smoothen that surface on the commutator. Do not touch the brushes no matter what. Don't touch them. Do not try to clean them or to sand them or anything. Don't touch the brushes. That's all I can tell you. They are extremely fragile. So you may want to check the brushes, the surface that's contacted the brushes for being smooth. And also perhaps try to lubricate the top and low bearing. And this is done much better and safer with the motor removed from the machine. And that's not difficult. There are videos showing you how to do it. It's really not difficult. Make sure you unplug the machines from the wall. But it's not the only difficulty is that the motor gets stuck in there. So you may try to first remove there is a locking plate underneath. Look on the videos on YouTube how to position that plate back correctly. There is a screw, and then try to push down the motor, see if it comes. If it slides out of this socket, it comes from underneath. If it's stuck, then just forget it. That's how it is. But you can still, I don't know if you can access the bottom bearing of the motor. The top bearing is the one that gets bad oftentimes. Well, oftentimes, depends how much you use it. But I want to say that my motor is in good condition, so it's really, it has been, I did just check it, everything that's the bearings and the brushes, surface contact. So it's in really good condition, and that may explain the low speed. If you don't get such a low speed, there may be a problem with the motor, but also there may be a problem with other points that need lubricating here. And I do have videos showing that I did count them on this machine. I believe there is like 200 lubrication points, a lot of them. There are 5 pairs of gears. This is one of them. There are still 4 more pairs of gears, metallic ones. There are 2 underneath, one here, this one, and there is one underneath this cam stack. And this is easy to remove, but it's a bit tricky because you need to bring down these kind of followers. You need to bring them all the way down, both of them, and you need to wiggle with this red lever to bring down both of them. And then you can lubricate this plate here, this kind of swing plate with the cam followers that sit against it. You can lubricate around the camshaft. There are many other points, obviously. And by lubricate, I mean these surfaces take grease, not oil. These metal contacting surfaces take grease. The ones that take oil are the ones that have the camshaft on them. This one, in front, there are several points. Those take oil, the other take grease. Okay, so anyhow, maybe this helps you. I just give you an idea, but in all scenarios, give it a moment and just lubricate the gear from the motor.